Okay, think about your first aid kit for a second. You probably have one, right?
Uh-huh.
Chances are you've got that little brown bottle of Povidone Iodine somewhere in there.
Yeah, the standard stuff for cuts and scrapes.
Exactly. But here's something that might surprise you. The global market for this, well, seemingly simple antiseptic, it's projected to be worth a massive $2.168 billion in 2025.
It is pretty amazing, isn't it? When you start to peel back the layers on something so, ordinary, you find this huge economic engine just humming away.
Right.
We've been digging into the 2025 Global Povidone Iodine Market Report, trying to pull out the really key insights, understand what's driving this surprisingly big market.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking serious numbers here, the size, where it's going, who's involved, what's pushing the growth. Our goal here is really to cut through all the technical stuff and give you the most important and honestly the most interesting bits from this report. When I first saw that multi-billion-dollar figure and the growth forecast, I was genuinely surprised. It makes you look at that little bottle a bit differently, doesn't it?
It really does. For me, that's the fascinating part, connecting our everyday health stuff,
Yeah.
basic needs, with this huge global economy.
Yeah.
How does something so fundamental get so big?
Yeah.
And the report shows it's not just big, it's growing. It's actually projected to hit USD 3,013.0 million by 2033.
Okay, wait, so that's nearly another $1 billion in, what, just 8 years?
Yep.
What's driving that kind of jump? The report mentions a CAGR compound annual growth rate of 4.20% between 2025 and 2033. What does that actually mean in practical terms? Is it just slow and steady?
Well, 4.2% indicates pretty solid, consistent growth year after year. Think of it like a snowball, getting bigger as it rolls.
Yeah.
And a really big driver, a major factor here, is just the sheer number of surgeries happening around the world. That number keeps going up. Every single surgery, whether it's minor or major, needs strict antiseptic procedures and povidone iodine. It's a workhorse. It works against bacteria, viruses, fungi. It's just really reliable for infection control in the OR.
That makes perfect sense. More operations mean more demand for things like this. So, geographically, where's all this activity happening? Which regions are leading?
The report lays it out pretty clearly. For 2025, North America is out front. They account for over 37% of the global revenue.
Wow.
That's about USD 802.16 million. Their growth rate, the CAGR from 2025 to 2033, is projected at a steady 3.0%.
Over 800 million. Just in North America. That's huge. And the report connects that to their strong healthcare infrastructure, right?
Exactly. They have well-established systems and a big focus on controlling infections. Then you've got Europe, not far behind. They hold over 29% of the global revenue.
Okay.
So that's around USD 628.72 million. Their growth rate is actually a bit higher at 3.3%. Still a very big market, still growing consistently.
They're massive numbers. What about other parts of the world? I'm curious about Asia specifically.
Right, Asia Pacific or APAC. That's where the growth story gets really interesting. They have about 24% of the revenue now, around USD 520.32 million in 2025. But, and this is the key thing, their expected CAGR from 2025 to 2033 is a whopping 6.6%. That makes them the fastest growing region by quite a bit.
6.6%. That's significant. Why such rapid growth in Asia Pacific?
Well, the report points to a couple of things. Rapid economic development across many countries there, plus they're really expanding their healthcare infrastructure.
I see.
As economies grow, more people get access to better healthcare, better facilities, better practices, and the demand for reliable antiseptics like povidone iodine just shoots up naturally.
Makes sense.
Like the report specifically notes higher adoption in rural parts of China, which is a big piece of that APAC growth puzzle.
That paints a clearer picture. It's not just the established systems, it's expanding access.
Yeah.
What about South America, the Middle East, Africa? How do they fit in?
So South America has just over 3.8% share with a 4.5% CAGR. The Middle East is roughly 4%, growing slightly faster at 4.7% CAGR. And Africa holds about 2.2%, also growing at 4.5% CAGR.
Okay.
So, yeah, their current market sizes are smaller compared to the big three, but they're all seeing pretty decent growth rates, too.
Right. So overall, strong global demand,
Yeah.
but Asia's really kicking into high gear on growth.
Yeah.
Beyond more surgeries, what else is pushing this expansion?
Definitely. The report really stresses the rising global awareness around hygiene and infection control. That's a huge driver.
Yeah.
Efforts by groups like the WHO, the CDC, promoting hand washing, preventing infections in hospitals. That has a direct impact on demand for good antiseptics.
Absolutely. I think we're all much more aware of that now, aren't we?
For sure. And that awareness is filtering down to consumers, too. More people see the value in having these things at home, just in case.
Yeah, that makes sense. The report also mentioned something about pharmaceutical formulations,
Yeah.
advancements there. What kind of innovation are we talking about?
Oh, this part's pretty cool, actually. They're developing more, let's say, user-friendly and maybe even more effective ways to deliver it.
Like what?
Things like sustained release gels, ointments, sprays, stuff designed to release the povidone iodine slowly
Yeah.
over time.
So it keeps working longer.
Exactly. Especially good for wounds, helps maintain that antiseptic environment, might improve healing, reduce infection risk. They're even looking at things like nanoparticle-based formulations.
Nanoparticles.
Yeah, tiny delivery systems to get the povidone iodine right where it needs to go, maybe more effectively, maybe even needing lower doses.
Wow. So it's not just the same old brown liquid. They're actively making it better. I saw a mention of India's PRP initiative, too, supporting pharma research.
Right, that government support is important. When governments back pharmaceutical R&D, it can really speed up getting these advanced formulations developed and out into the market, including things relevant to antimicrobial resistance.
Okay. But it can't all be smooth sailing. With any product, there are, limits or things holding it back. What are the restraints for povidone iodine?
Yeah, the report points out a few. One is simply alternatives. Povidone iodine isn't the only game in town, right? There's competition from other antiseptics.
Sure, makes sense.
Another thing is potential side effects. For some people, it can cause dryness, irritation, rarely more serious allergic reactions.
All right. Always important to use it correctly.
Definitely. And be aware if you have sensitivities, like to iodine itself or thyroid issues. The report also briefly touches on environmental concerns about iodine compounds.
Environmental. How so?
It doesn't dive super deep, but it acknowledges that the environmental impact of these substances is, on the radar, could lead to stricter rules down the line, or maybe a push for greener alternatives.
Okay, so competition, side effects, potential environmental stuff,
Yeah.
challenges to watch. Looking ahead then, what are the big trends shaping the future here?
Well, we touched on the innovative formulations. That's definitely a major trend. Expect more research into nanoparticles, maybe combination products for even better results.
Yeah.
Another big one is the growing demand for home use. Just becoming way more accessible over the counter in different forms. Easy for people to grab for minor things at home.
Right, the first aid kit staple becoming even more common.
Yeah, and you see things like the FDA updating guidelines in 2022 for these OTC antiseptics, reflecting that consumer use and making sure they're safe and effective.
Interesting how it bridges that gap between hospitals and homes. Let's talk applications. Where is the povidone iodine actually used most?
Okay, so the report says skin sterilization is the dominant use right now.
Makes sense.
Think prepping skin before surgery, cleaning wounds, general skin disinfection. Just the sheer number of surgeries and wound care needs makes this the biggest chunk of the market. There are even draft guidelines, like from the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, focusing on standardizing this stuff.
Skin sterilization.
Yeah.
That's what most people probably think of. But the report said infection prevention is the fastest growing application. How's that different?
It reflects that broader focus on stopping infections before they start, especially in healthcare settings.
Yeah.
Hospitals are really concerned about hospital-acquired infections, resistant bugs.
Right.
So there's more demand for reliable disinfectants like povidone iodine to keep things sterile, prevent cross-contamination. Interestingly, the report throws in a mention of pyroxenite.
Pyroxenite. What's that?
It's a mineral, apparently can contain copper or zinc, and they're exploring its potential for creating antimicrobial surfaces. Just shows the ongoing hunt for new ways to fight germs.
Huh. That's a cool little side note. So skin prep is biggest now, but general infection prevention is growing fastest. What about instrument sterilization?
Yeah, it's used for disinfecting instruments too, although there are other common methods for that as well. And then there's an others category, which probably covers more niche uses, maybe dentistry, veterinary medicine, things like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Market size, drivers, challenges, trends, uses. Covered a lot. Who are the companies actually making and selling all this stuff? Is it just a few big names?
The report paints it as a pretty competitive scene. You've got a mix of big global players and smaller regional companies. It names a few like Samrat Pharmachem Limited, Advocare Pharma, Adani Pharmachem, Microin Labs, Life Pharmachem, just as examples.
Interesting mix. Any recent moves, like partnerships or new products, that give us a clue about where things are headed?
Yeah, it mentions a collaboration between Mundi Pharma and Ecolab from back in October 2022. They were working on improving formulations and delivery for healthcare settings.
Okay.
And PDI Healthcare launched some new disinfectant wipes and sprays in March 2022, specifically targeting healthcare-associated infections. So yeah, definitely signs of ongoing innovation, companies trying to meet specific needs.
So definitely not a static market. They're actively tweaking things. Let's zoom in on some specific countries the report highlights. The U.S. is the biggest market aligns with the North America picture. Main driver there.
Report says it's mainly the rising number of surgeries, aging population, better surgical techniques, just keeps the demand strong for preoperative skin prep.
Okay. China. Big market, obviously.
Yep, significant market there. And use has really surged, especially in rural areas. It's a big factor in why APAC is growing so fast overall.
And India, also high growth, linked to government pharma initiatives.
Exactly. When the government supports the local pharma and medtech industries, it tends to boost related markets like this one.
Okay, over to Europe. The UK is seeing growth specifically because of more chronic wounds and burns.
Yeah, that's a specific driver there. Conditions needing ongoing antiseptic care create that steady demand.
Brazil seeing more demand for first aid kits. Ties back to that home use trend.
Correct. Consumers getting more proactive, stocking up their home kits.
Saudi Arabia and Argentina growing importance in personal hygiene. Seems like that broader global awareness thing again.
It does. That general trend towards better hygiene is boosting demand for personal care antiseptics in lots of places.
Now here's one that caught my eye. Turkey. The market there got a boost from interest in natural and organic antiseptics. That seems counterintuitive for Povidone Iodine.
It does seem a bit odd, doesn't it? Maybe it reflects a broader consumer interest in natural approaches, even influencing choices within established antiseptic categories. It shows how consumer trends can create unexpected niches.
Huh. Interesting. And finally, Nigeria's sales are doing well partly because of better packaging and shelf life.
Yeah, sometimes it's the practical stuff, right? Making sure the product lasts, is easy to store and use, especially crucial in places with challenging supply chains or climates.
Wow. Well, we've definitely gone deep into the surprisingly complex world of Povidone Iodine today.
We really have. It's amazing how much is behind something we just, grab without thinking.
So just to quickly recap the big takeaways.
Absolutely. We saw the market is huge, over $2 billion in 2025, and set to keep growing steadily.
Right, with big regional differences. Asia-Pacific is really the growth engine to watch.
And that growth isn't just about more hospitals or surgeries. It's also rising hygiene awareness, real innovation in the products themselves, and more people using it at home.
We also touched on the breaks. Competition, potential side effects, things like that.
And the trends, like those advanced formulations, nanoparticles.
Yeah.
Plus a look at the competitive landscape and those interesting country-specific details.
So yeah, next time you reach for that little brown bottle, maybe you'll think about the multi-billion-dollar global industry humming away behind it.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, what other everyday things have these incredibly complex markets driving them? And what does that tell us about, global health, how we live, consumer behavior? Definitely food for thought.
It really does show how much there is to uncover, even in things we think are simple. Maybe it encourages you, the listener, to think about other common items and do your own sort of deep dive. You might be really surprised at what you find.